Today, I'll be cleaning the headstone of Gerald Wayne Goodner. This monument is located at Spring Hill Cemetery in Danville, Illinois. Throughout the cleaning process, I will go over some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to cleaning headstones, some history of the life of Mr. Goodner, and multiple other topics to help others when it comes to headstone cleaning. The first thing I'll go over is how I got my start in headstone cleaning and what chemicals to use. My primary job is a burial vault installer. Every day you can find me in a cemetery around central Indiana and central Illinois setting up a committal service for a funeral home that we work for. Once the committal service is done, we sometimes have anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours until the funeral is expected to arrive at the cemetery. How fast we complete a committal service setup depends on the weather and if the ground is saturated with water and we can't get our equipment close to the grave. On a good day, it may take 30 to 45 minutes to set up, and on a bad day, upwards of 3 hours. Built into our setup time is ample time to have someone else come out to the cemetery in case the grave caves in, or the vault breaks, or something goes wrong. We want to make sure there's time to fix the issue before the family arrives. The grave digging process can be incredibly messy, especially in the rougher times of the year when the ground's saturated, and oftentimes, the gravestone for the family member may end up covered in mud, and that's how I got my start cleaning headstones. I would bring just some water and a scrub brush and clean off the family stone before they arrived for the service. After doing that for a few years, I realized that nobody in my area has a headstone cleaning business, and ever since then I've been cleaning headstones for families across Illinois and Indiana. The first thing I will say about cleaning headstones is remember the very first rule, which is do no harm. Even though these headstones are incredibly hard and can be made out of granite, sandstone, marble, and other hard materials, it is still very possible that a headstone can be damaged during the cleaning process. Watching one of my videos alone is not enough information to go start cleaning headstones yourself, so make sure to Google and do your research to make sure you're using the right cleaning products and the right tools for the job. Personally, I only use 2 products to clean headstones: D2 biological solution and plain Dawn dish soap. D2 biological solution can be purchased online directly from the website of D2, but you can also purchase it through companies like Atlas Preservation and different monument cleaning supply companies. It is somewhat pricey, but it is the best product out there, and it is safe to use on headstones, especially the old ones that are more brittle that you don't want to be scrubbing on with scrub brushes. When it comes to scrub brushes, I always go with the softest bristled brushes I can find. Any type of wire brush or hard nylon could scratch the stone. This D2 solution is a biological solution, which means when it comes in contact with algae or lichens or anything that's growing on the stone, it kills off any of that living material. Over the years, the best way I've found to use biological solutions such as this is to treat the stone multiple times over the course of a couple hours before taking part in the cleaning. This allows the solution to really work its way into the stone and into that staining and really loosen up the algae and lichens that sit on the surface. Aside from dish soap and D2 biological solution, I use soft scrub brushes, but most importantly, I use lots and lots of water. For the donated cleanings such as this one, I most of the time use D2 biological solution because it's the best product for the stone. Oftentimes, I will also use a dish soap dilution to help remove some of that algae. In a 1-gallon pump sprayer, I mix around 1 ounce of dish soap and the rest of the bucket is water, so it's an extreme dilution and there's not a lot of dish soap actually sitting on the stone. One thing with dish soap is that if you do not thoroughly rinse the soap off of the stone, it can dry and become flaky and almost look like flaking paint on the side of a car, if you've ever seen that. And that's not how we want to leave a stone after a cleaning. So if I were using dish soap on a headstone such as this, I would treat the stone with D2 biological solution before the cleaning. I would use the dish soap for the actual scrubbing process. And once that cleaning was done, I would rinse off all of the water thoroughly before treating the stone again with D2 biological solution. I'll just go ahead and say D2 for the rest of this video because I feel like I'm saying biological solution way too much. But one good thing about this D2 cleaner is that you actually don't have to scrub on the headstone at all. Using D2, you can treat the headstone and come back in a few months, and that solution will have worked its way into the stone and into all that algae and growth on the stone and help dry it out, and with time, the rain will eventually wash away all the dead material. This really comes in handy for the ancient headstones that I clean at times, the really old World War I, or just one of the ancient stones that we run across from the 1700s or 1800s. I would rather treat it with D2 and come back and let time do the job. I don't want to be scrubbing on those very much if I can avoid it. When I do scrub on those stones, I'm simply trying to work the D2 solution into the headstone further using water. It really helps to make sure that that D2 is worked into the different algae. That way, over time, it's easier to go ahead and start falling off the stone. The best way to clean headstones is just using a lot of caution. Now, military markers like this are pretty durable, I've found over the years, and especially the concrete foundations. You can scrub a little bit harder on concrete because it is porous and it does not have a shined finish. On this headstone, I only clean the left-hand side first, so you can see a little bit of the before and after of just how well D2 works. And this also only took around 4 minutes to scrub and rinse, and this headstone almost looks good as new. I'll also warn, I know that I say that I only use D2 solution and dish soap, and a lot of people will say, well, this product will work better, this has bleach in it, it's definitely going to work better at killing off that algae. Please, 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 do your research and make sure that you don't use any type of bleach product in any way whatsoever, and stay away from all bathroom cleaners and acidic cleaners. You don't want to use anything that could wear down the stone in any way, shape, or form. It breaks my heart to go through a cemetery and to see a really old headstone, and you can tell someone just grabbed a brush and some bleach and went to town. And years later, that stone is cracking and brittle and falling apart. And that's history that can never be brought back. Hopefully the cemetery has record of that headstone and there's family around to replace the stone. But for the most part, especially in the rural cemeteries that I work around in central Illinois and Indiana, doing that to any of these headstones may lose that history forever. We're now on to the other side of the headstone. Now I typically use 3 different brushes. One angled brush that I use for the crevices where it meets the foundation. One larger soft bristle brush that really just helps work around that algae. And then I use a shorter bristle brush that is still a soft bristle to go over the entire headstone itself. For the lettering, I use a combination of toothbrushes and small angled nylon brushes. And when cleaning headstones that have a mirror polish on some of the newer granites, I use a horsehair brush just to make sure I don't scratch any of that polished face. Another tool that's great to have when headstone cleaning is a leaf blower and trimmer. It's nice to be able to trim around the headstone first and around the foundation to make sure you can access all the areas to clean, and a leaf blower to remove the grass. Another reason having the leaf blower comes in handy is because when I'm thoroughly done with my cleaning, I can rinse the stone and then blow off all the excess water. This allows the stone to dry quicker, and so I can see to make sure I didn't miss any spots. Oftentimes, when the stone is saturated, it will turn a darker color, and when it dries, there are a few spots that I missed because they weren't visible on the wet stone. Throughout the cleaning process, I make sure to keep the stone wet. I don't want it to get dry and then use a dry brush on it. I also want to make sure I'm not pushing too hard even though it is a soft scrub brush. As you can imagine with the lettering on the face of the stone, it's engraved or etched into the stone. If I were to put too much pressure or use a super stiff bristle brush, I run the risk of popping out or chipping in between the lettering, especially on the O's, A's, and R's. Where a circle is formed, it's much easier to pop out the inside of those letters. So, like with every headstone cleaning, we're just going to use extreme caution and make sure we don't damage the headstone. So to sum up headstone cleaning, in my opinion, you want to use the right products, and that is D2 biological solution. You want to use very soft bristle brushes. You want to do plenty of research before starting headstone cleaning, and use tons and tons of water. One more question that I get a lot on my social media channels is, do I get permission before cleaning these headstones? And of course, permission has to be given for you to touch anyone's headstone in a cemetery. Since I work in the burial vault industry, a lot of the cemetery sextons, funeral homes, and a lot of the families are familiar with my work and either give me permission or request headstones to be cleaned. I've cleaned over 50 headstones at this cemetery alone, and there's probably around 10,000 more to get to. It's a very large cemetery with a lot of Danville, Illinois history. If it were possible, I would love to do this full time, but I also really enjoy my other job in providing committal services for families, so I don't know if I will ever be a full-time headstone cleaner. I've had many people reach out and ask if they can donate for me to be able to clean more veteran headstones like this one today. And while that is an incredibly generous offer, and I do thank everyone for those messages, I thought of something different that might be a win-win situation for everyone. Rather than donating to me for supplies and my time, I would rather everyone donate to a veteran organization, such as Mission 22. There are many great veteran organizations that give back to those who have served overseas and help their families. So rather than donating to me, I'd rather you send me a screenshot of your donation to one of the veteran organizations to my Facebook page, Ileana Headstone Care, and I will clean a veteran headstone in your name, so the headstone still gets cleaned and the money goes to the veterans who have served this country. My only overhead for doing this job is D2 biological solution and just time itself. I get the water from the shop, and my boss supports me in giving me time on my services some days to do more donated cleanings and to clean for families who have reached out and hired me to clean their family's headstone. Through doing this, we've raised a few $1,000s through different organizations, and I'm really happy to say that. Although I did not serve this country myself, I am proud to help raise money for those who have. As this video comes to a close, I will give you a little information about the life of Mr. Goodner. Gerald Wayne Goodner is a U.S. Army veteran. He served in the 7th Cavalry Regiment, part of the 1st Cavalry Division. The 7th Cavalry has participated in many conflicts, including World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, and the Global War on Terror. The 1st Cavalry Division landed in Pohangdong, South Korea, in the first amphibious landing of the Korean War. The division crossed the 38th parallel in 1950 and then closed on the capital of North Korea 10 days later. Gerald Wayne Goodner lost his life in the Korean War defending this great nation. For many veterans, there isn't a lot of information I can share about their military service and career. But Gerald Wayne Goodner is an American hero, and it was an absolute honor to restore his headstone so that his name may live on.